Good morning, everybody. Good morning. First of all, I want to connect with the previous keynote. I really loved your presentation, Carl. I think I can greatly connect to your story. And I will add the very practical and hands-on perspective to it. And I also especially like your question, Nathalie. I will also try to answer it from my perspective in my presentation. Because I think there's a lot of, we have a great culture in the water industry when it comes to enthusiasm and people that really want to change this world. Why? Because we are operating in one of the most impactful industries in the society. There's of course also a side that we don't see too often, which is barriers. It can be a very hostile environment for people that want to innovate. And this is a pity. I'm not only talking about people building a business, I'm talking about people wanting to innovate within a utility, wanting to innovate in a consulting company, like at all places. You will try it once, twice, 3 times, especially when you're below the age of 35. You guys are all very open-minded. But you will stop, you will give up. After a while, you will give up, and this is a pity. Why? Because we lose so much societal impact by either people giving up, not doing it anymore, or they will even leave the water industry. So I think the message, I really want to address this thing here in the room, because I think this is a great forum. You guys have chosen to be in this industry, which is fantastic. And you're also all very open-minded at the age where you are now. I'm 39, I'm not a young water professional anymore. But I mean, let's say I can call myself an IWP, an experienced water professional. Now, is this not working? Is this possible? It's not. Down. Okay, let's start with this one. So I just want to put these expectations straight of this talk. This picture was taken this weekend, Saturday. I was on a music festival with my best friends. And it's the first time ever I feel like jet-lagged coming from Brussels to Italy. So don't put your expectations too high, guys, okay? I just want to put this from the beginning, so we're all aligned. I actually promised my friends to stop with this picture. So I was thinking, okay, a keynote, you can shape a keynote in many, many different ways. Huh? There's unlimited possibilities. I was thinking, should I talk about the digital future of the water industry, a domain we are active in as a company? Or maybe mathematical modeling of treatment plants, where I did my PhD in? I think if I would start with this topic, more than half of the room would leave after 50 minutes. Maybe building a business in the water industry would be inspiring, probably inspiring, but there's a small fraction of you that will really do it. So it's not too relevant for most of you, probably. And then I thought, again, maybe my own career journey. Yeah, inspiring, probably, maybe inspiring. However, inspiration is not enough, I think, for a keynote. I also wanted to do something more than just inspire. So I was thinking, and I was inspired by this very recent email this weekend from the organizers. Because I thought, okay, let's maybe start with the objectives of this gathering. What are the objectives here? The objectives, literally, for me, were listed in the email. Discuss innovative solutions for water challenges, build new collaborations, and shape the future of the water sector. This is the objectives of this conference. Yeah, this is just awesome, if you ask me. So I thought, okay, let's come up with the title. This is the title I came up with like less than 24 hours ago. Owning your water career to create lasting global impacts and European collaboration and competitiveness. I'm so sorry, I am also having an academic background, I couldn't do it shorter. But there are some important words here. Lasting impact, so permanent change, disruption, change, not incremental. European collaboration and competitiveness, I will put it in a global perspective, and I also will stress a little bit how collaboration currently is happening. So yeah, my career was really built upon YWP communities. Huh? I was really, from 2009, I was able to co-organize these events In our region, it's the Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. That's because we are not as big as Italy, so we have to group countries. And then you get this amount of people, and probably Italy still has 3 times more people. But still, this community was hugely impactful, and this was, for example, a picture taken in 2013, 13 years ago. This is me, yeah. I'm currently 39 years old. I'm happy to not say yet I'm 40, but it's going to change in the coming months. I have 17 years of water career. I never worked in any other industry. So I just from a master's study, I went straight into the water industry. And I can imagine for many people here, this is the same story. Why? Because it takes a huge amount of time to get to know this industry. It takes decades, or even I'm still surprised every day. There are a lot of surprises in this industry. How it works, who is working in it, how big it actually is. So I worked 7 years in academia. That's where I started my career, and then now I almost worked 10 years as an entrepreneur, running my own company. So I understand both sides. I've seen both sides, and I try to integrate this into this keynote lecture. Our industry has never been as important as today. So this is great news for you guys as well. I mean, how can you have more impact in your career? One of the best choices you can make is the water industry, probably. Because talk to your family, they will all say, wow, must be important. This is the first thing they will say. And we heard in the presentation of the challenges. We have a lot of them. I'm not going to repeat them. We have heard them, I think, 2 or 3 times already. Climate change, future-proofing, or also thinking differently about infrastructure, aging workforce. We will need to reuse, we will need to look for alternative drinking water sources. We have a lot of pollution emerging, and our regulation is becoming ever more stringent. Okay, so yeah, don't underestimate this. This is just one slide, but don't underestimate the billions and billions and billions of dollars that are involved here. So the other good news is probably if you start your career now in the water industry, you can probably earn some more money than 10 years ago. Because there will be probably more money flowing into this industry. I don't think we can have another choice, to be honest. Otherwise, you will never solve these problems. And this was reflected by recent graphs I just took from Global Water Intelligence. They are expecting like a Kyoto moment. The time when the Kyoto Protocol was published, you can see the capex growth, this red curve, in the energy sector. Right now, the water industry is underfunded. We don't have too much. It's such an important industry, but there's no money. There is really a lack of money in this industry. It's chronic. Why, for example, if I'm a business person now, I want to implement a new business model in that industry. You have an issue if your clients don't have the money. If they would love to work with you, but they don't have the money to work with you. Can you imagine? But the good news is change might be coming. And if currently people ask me now, where would you invest in? I typically say, buy some stocks of listed companies in the water industry. Maybe the returns will not be exponential. These are not the NVIDIAs, but there's a pretty high certainty you will get a very nice return if you're patient. The last sentence is very important. But I want to talk about acceleration. This is the goal. Our industry has never been as important today. Okay, you are going to largely shape the future of the European water sector and maybe globally. I'd like you to succeed and be as effective as possible. Okay, that brings me, I'm just breaking down the goals of this keynote. My goal is to inspire you, but also this directly confronts a couple of usually non-discussed industry barriers. So I just wanted to add some more value than just inspiring, because what happens with an inspiring keynote, you will all say, fantastic keynote. You will go home, next week you've forgotten, you're in your job, nothing happens. That's what happens with inspiration only. So I really wanted to add a couple of very concrete handles to overcoming some barriers. This is meant for utilities, engineering, consulting, research, technology, policy. Probably, I guess, 95% of you is in one of those categories. Who is from academia, research? From you? Okay, and who is working for companies? Yes, 50-50 almost, let's say. That's great. Okay, Somebody that knows the wording we use for non-discussed issues or barriers? What is the image we use? Things we are not allowed to, or not allowed, a little bit, under the carpet. This one, right? Now, I had an issue. I made this, of course, you can use AI nowadays to do it very fast. I made this image this morning, but I Googled for this room, and if you Google the room, it is the old picture because it was completely renovated. So straight before the keynote, I had to actually take a picture from there to update it. But now you recognize the room, hopefully. It's an elephant in the room, so I'm going to talk about 2 elephants, and I'm going to start with an inspiration. So the inspiration is my career path, and then I'm going to talk about elephants. You will feel probably the dynamic changing a little bit in the keynote, because the elephants are a bit more serious stuff. Okay, reflection 1. Let's talk about the inspiration. You can't plan a career, but you can probably navigate it based on principles. I was not so long ago in a PhD session at Ghent University in Belgium, and there was a PhD student, and the audience was potential PhD students. And there was a PhD student finishing, and she was explaining the whole theory about, you have to really know from on the beforehand, is it something for you or not? Will you do something with it? She was like making a whole analysis. But I was of the opinion, this is a great academic analysis, but in reality, you don't know. You don't know actually, most people just jump straight into it. And afterwards, it's very easy to go back. For example, how I will illustrate a little bit how my career was shaped. It's very random. I started with my master thesis. I was developing and designing a treatment plan for a music festival in Belgium. Temporary events, decentralized treatment. It worked great. You see the result before and after, right? Of course, if you are scientists, you know it's more than just this, but it helps. Principles used, why did I choose this direction? Why I thought, from principle point of view, environment will get more importance. I'm passionate about science and nature. My oldest brother did engineering studies. He succeeded. I share part of the genes. So, and 4 of my friends will also do it. Let's join them. So these were the principles I used. Okay, and then suddenly you're ending your master's degree, and they said, do you want to do a PhD? I had no clue what a PhD was. I had to Google it. But I discovered you could name yourself doctor. So one of the principles, I'm not kidding, I'm really not kidding. One of the principles I used is the degree of doctor. It really sounds cool. Just imagine. I don't think I will make it, but just imagine I make it. I'm Dr. Audenaert. Wow. Okay, in addition to that, 2008 was a very bad financial crisis. So I thought, let's spend 4 years at university. By then, the crisis will be over. And I was very curious about science, of course. And I thought, what is super impactful? So this is not a waste of time, right? Okay, let's do it. But you can see how random things occur. I really had no further vision. This is also the misty road Allah showed. Like start with what you see, but navigate based on principles and values. And then in 2015, I was in Canada. You can see how beautiful the weather was in Quebec. Minus 30 degrees when I arrived. And then I discovered the difference between -5 and -30. While walking to the pizza restaurant, I had to return after 100 meters and put on additional layers. So this is Quebec, and I thought, this was the missing piece of my CV to become a professor, 3 months of foreign experience. So I went to Canada, to Quebec. And then I thought, guys, this was a ski elevator in Quebec. This is really something for me to become a professor. For the first time in my career, I was really thinking fundamentally about my own journey. And I applied for that position that came, and the principle I used was this stupid principle. I will apply for the professorship position because I will not get selected anyway, and then the decision is being taken for me, and I start my company. What a stupid principle. Why is it stupid? Because I didn't expect to be with amongst the final 2 candidates. So I had to actually, in the end, pull out myself and make the decision myself. So in the end, there was no avoidance. Okay. So now we have this company, and we have some great people in the business. We are very proud of this team. We, by the way, have 3 Italian colleagues, and 2 of them are attending this event. One already is here, Jessica. She's also very active in the YWP community, Roberta as well, and Giacomo is here. So yeah, we are a business that has 3 teams in 3 countries, 16 people now, 2.4 million turnover, hopefully way more in the future, if we overcome some scaling barriers. 24 countries, and we worked at more than 200 treatment plants. The principles I used, I thought, okay, that's the best way to make practical impact. It's a great learning challenge. I grew up in my parents' shop, so they have done something with the business. And I also can choose exactly the people I want to work with. That's the benefit of starting your own company. So I think here, I think my career was not at all planned, it just unfolded. And of course, you become more thoughtful when you grow experience and get to know yourself. But I think in the beginning, you don't know your own values, personality that much to make very thoughtful decisions. I was guided by passion and interests, personal growth, impact creation, values. And I feel my career is still accelerating because you get to know yourself at a certain point very well. This was the inspiring story. Now we are going to go to very bloody serious stuff. Our slowness, because we are all very open-minded people, I think we can be also a little bit self-critical, and it's needed. I think our slowness is becoming an increasingly important issue, and we really need to accelerate. I wrote a blog, one of them, it's really the most read blog I ever wrote on LinkedIn. I wrote this LinkedIn blog about innovation in the water industry. It had 30,000 reads, and I got messages from around 50 different water companies and around 100 other water professionals. So it's something that is not often discussed, but it's lives. That was for me the proof. This is an entrepreneur today that wants to change the water industry. Because you will not start a business if you don't start from that perspective. You will not say, I will do something. You will only start your business if you say, I will do something very meaningful, guys. And the reality is, too often, this person retires, the business is at the end. At least, guys, at least my technology got piloted at 5 plants. And mind the first words, at least. That person even agrees after a while. She's not even disappointed anymore. This is the reality for many business people in the water industry. We talk about these concrete blocks, the big incumbents. They will indeed not be adaptable, but they have some power. What will they do? They will completely block the rolling stone. So there is really a ground reality. And on the other hand, I gave a keynote in Shanghai, IWA, digital part of China. And then you discover that these guys are going so fast on digital, they are having dark treatment plants, and that's the alternative of the equivalent of the dark factories. They are all autonomously run. It's like a massive adoption of AI, and we with the European utilities are discussing, would there be some value in digital twins? Can you imagine? But so, the extremes are different. I'm just a bit worried. We have brilliant environmental technology. I think we are amongst the top of the world in Europe. Why? Because we have one of the most stringent regulations. This drives so much innovation. The level of people here in the room is above average globally. But the issue is in our speed and really adoption. When you commercialize a solution, you have to work with the early starters, your early adopters. Some utilities, for example, that want to test your solution. But to really make very big impacts, this is not enough. You can stay a company with 2-3 people forever here. But if you really want to scale, you need the mass markets. And that is where exactly the issue is with businesses in the water industry or technologies in general. Because when you start here, you should not forget, it will take you around 10 years to bridge this gap. Which entrepreneur with a little bit of ambition has this patience? And also, financial risks are huge. That's a physical reason as well, why our industry is dominated by very big companies. They have the financial buffers to overcome this complexity. So this was the article. You can scan the code to read it. There's a lot of details in there and a lot of comments. F57, there's a very good discussion on it. Okay, so what are important take-homes? Because the title of the article is Utilities Hold a Very Important Key. Realize that startups have utmost difficulties getting in. If you say no to a startup or no to, I don't have time to meet, or realize this company can be out of business 1 year from now and maybe potentially would have changed the world, but will now disappear. That's the impact in reality. Guys. I will give an example of it. Give innovation, please give it the chance to prove itself. If you work with a water company or another, like an engineering company, you will probably face a lot of resistance. And when you're a bit younger, you will go for it. You will hit all these barriers. Well, the only thing I can ask you is please don't let this happen. Question, and please don't try to change that culture and hold to your position, despite your seniority level or so. We need a cultural change. Once proven, please deploy at big scale, because we go from pilot to pilot, from research project to research project. Everybody celebrates, but guys, where is the adoption? And talk to other utilities to share a lot of experience, I would say. So these are very actionable things. We excel at piloting, we struggle with application at scale, and the latter really, really needs braveness. I would really recommend you to stick to it. Because typically when you're at the early start of your career, you're very brave. So this is some practical insights for academics amongst us researchers. I don't think the don'ts are, for me, redo work that's already commercially available. I see it too much happening. And only consider what's published at state of the art. I mean, realize that companies do not publish, and they are very, very advanced often, guys. So the state of the art is not what's in the review. To me, the state of the art is what has been applied in practice. We also have 6, 7 PhDs in our team, but we don't publish. I think the do's are work on topics that are inaccessible to companies, question your current research, I would say, and work together with the industry. Please work together with the industry to create a win-win. This is not so easy because both sides don't understand each other. You have the intention, you go into a meeting, let's collaborate, but nobody knows how. And that's a little bit of an issue. So I think we need to create more understanding and empathy across all the actors in the industry. We all have our roles to play, academics, engineers, startups, technology people, policymakers. We all have our roles to play, but they overlap too much and we don't understand our roles too much. We will really need to amp up the game, and that's why I really wanted to put this on the slide. So this is a European YWPE conference. Be a bit more impatient, and I think be a little bit stressed about the time, because we have a huge opportunity. We have the best technology in the world, but let's keep it like that and try to use it for the benefit of Europe. And this is an important elephant. I don't think many of you working in academia has ever thought about this. Not many people. Because research is being seen as something 100% positive, I think it also has a very negative byproduct that is not considered when people write research applications or PhD applications. It generates knowledge, but it can also slow down the adoption of innovation, certainly in an industry that is dominated or listening very much to academia. This is a person trying to pushes for real change. For example, these are the enthusiastic newcomers, like Kala mentioned, enthusiastic newcomers, or I hope he stays enthusiastic, but they start enthusiastic. Okay, and this is the impactful solution that person wants to really bring to the market. Now, every market has barriers. So in reality, this is the reality. And you can see the more round your ball is, the more it can backfire, because it rolls back. And the steeper the slope, the more disruptive or market creating, I think it's more positive than disruptive, the steeper the slope. And this, so in the water industry, I think this is a very steep slope. This is the natural resistance of the water industry. But it's not enough, guys, it's not enough. And I will be very critical now. Yeah, you also have these guys. Long live AI. You have these guys. Can you imagine? So this is not enough. These guys, let's make it a little bit hard. These are people, these are researchers arguing the solution isn't 100% right. Well intended, not a single bad intention. No? Don't get me wrong. 0 bad intentions. But the impact ultimately is negative for society. And okay, I will revisit the figure. I will give 2 examples. We have 2 solutions. Amazon and Noxa, they are, I think, both together responsible for around 70%, 60% of our revenue right now. They have been applied at over 200 treatment plants. So you cannot say they are in piloting stage. And also they are meaningful, they are valuable. Otherwise, 200 plants would really not buy it. People are not stupid. However, when I presented this idea, it's a mathematical model that predicts quaternary treatment to byproducts. It's very scientific. And I presented this at a congress in Lausanne, in Switzerland in 2018. The #1 authority in the field stood up. I tried it for 20, there was 200 people in the room. I tried it for 20 years, guy, it will never work. This was the key authority in the fields, okay? I don't know how many publications, but a lot. Yeah? And Noxa, solution predicting nitrous oxide emissions, nutrient removal. According to the industry or many academics, it's impossible to put into a model because it's too complex. Academic at the World Water Congress in Toronto 2 years ago stood up, full room, I gave my presentation. I will never trust the models. Guys, this is really big. I mean, again, they are practically applied. There are utilities benefiting from them. You can call them, they're all super happy at solving issues. Yeah, okay, what I want to address here, some observations when you see those expressions. The use of the word never, being an academic, is very risky, I believe. Never is very strong. It's a very strong statement, never. Please. Risky. And I call it rather non-scientific. It's or the models. So a lot of generalization focused on the gaps of the solution rather than the whole spectrum of applications. And then also the use of these scientific statements by third parties, those who feel threatened. I will come back to the figure. You remember the figure, right? Okay, let's add some people. These are status quo fans amplifying the researcher arguments. So if you're an academic, please be aware. People listen to you, they will use your papers, they will use your statements. And behind the scenes of the markets, these statements will be used to undermine innovative solutions. That's really an elephant in the room, guys. I've never heard it at any scientific conference. And again, there are no bad intentions, but this is a very bad byproduct. I will give some concrete examples. I think we need to build this. We really need to build it. It's so classic. Everybody talks about the gaps, but we really need each other. We really need to help each other. In the end, research or application, I'm not talking about companies, startups or so, it's anyone that wants to push an application forward with a utility. The driver is the same. We have the same goals. We want societal impacts. I think that's fundamental. However, the objective is different. This one is the development of knowledge, and that one is the development and commercialization of solutions at scale. You don't want to stay small, you want to preferably apply your solution globally. And the focus is on the gaps and the limitations, what still needs research, and this one is the opportunities. What can we already commercialize today, despite those gaps? So this is, of course, manifesting in papers. Look at these titles, limitations of applying the model. These are scientific papers. Artificial intelligence, challenges. And if you start reading those papers, they are actually very positive and they are full of opportunities. So I have done a suggestion, guys. For example, rewriting them a little bit, So for example, to improve the seasonal prediction, emerging opportunities, unlocking the potential. Same paper, other title. What I mean is this is, you, as an academic, you need to be super critical, that's your role. But I think when it comes to the interface of application, be very constructive. Because just realize you can hold back the already difficult innovation trajectory. It really has a huge impact in whichever academic position you have. I will give another example of a barrier. This was another real WhatsApp conversation, but I have put a meeting with a water utility from a new markets into a WhatsApp conversation. So I said to these guys, our solution was developed over a decade ago, and we can now help you mitigating your greenhouse gas emissions. Utility said, we would actually love to work with you guys, but we are in this research program from the University of XXX, and we can't engage with you until it's finished. This PhD student is actually working on the same topic as you guys. But that's 10 years of work we already did, and okay. And I asked, how long is it still running? 2 years. But guys, the impact can be that your company is bankrupt. There's another impact. This was a new market. We don't have access with this solution for 2 years in this new market because of an ongoing research program. So I'm just making this realization. These things are the research, I will turn it constructively. We could have perfectly worked together with that university. We can have done what we can do, and the researcher could have been focusing on the completely novel stuff. And this would have been a brilliant conversation. But I think these conversations are not enough happening in our industry. So let's remember, this is the uniting thing. We share the same goal. We all have the same goal. Really. That would be different, but we really do. But we can align way better and be way more constructive. And stay within your lane. Some people are very good at deploying things at scale, and others are very good at developing the knowledge. And we are very complementary. So be aware of the market dynamics, focus on your objective within your respective domain, and know what it takes and costs to commercialize solutions. Also remember that, for example, the WhatsApp conversation I showed them, that was around 2022. Our company was almost bankrupt. I could almost sell my own house. I'm not going to dramatize things, but can you imagine the context? Yeah, it can be very frustrating. At these moments, you would say, "I will leave this industry." Yeah. Sometimes you think that, and I have heard that not only from entrepreneurs, people that want to really innovate things from within utilities, from within engineering companies, policy. There is a good news, if we all push for it, the change will happen. I'm 100% sure. But it starts with awareness, and that was the awareness I wanted to create a little bit with this keynote. So yeah, navigate the career based on principles, I would say. We need to accelerate and let research be supportive of adoption and not destructive. So some concrete tips for utilities, I think, use your key to unlock adoption beyond piloting, talk to startups, new technologies, be very open, try, take it very serious. Technology companies, push beyond incremental innovation, go for the market creating innovation. We need meaningful stuff. And the incumbents will not do it. We need really people that think differently. Very, very, very important. Be really collaborative. What I mean with it, really do not only talk about it. We already heard it in this morning session. I think this word collaboration 20 times. But really, really, this means it starts with empathy. I know your objectives. I know your objectives, and really make it happen. Policy being an enabler that removes barriers, and for this you have to get out of your office and talk to the markets, and especially innovators, talk and understand them, what their barriers are. And research, I cannot ask enough, do the stuff the market can't do, because that's really where the true value is. Yeah, that's really where the true value is. You wanted to take a picture? Thanks for listening.